students, welcome to the series on international marketing. Today we are going to study channels of distribution. In this we will basically cover the concept of distribution, the impact of distribution on product promotion and the kind of the cost, and also the impact of distribution on the reach to the consumers. See, according to Ross, business is not doing just great deals. Business is having great products, doing great engineering and providing tremendous service to the customers. Finally, business is a cobweb of human relationships. This shows that we are relational aspect where each person and each media is important. We have to reach to the customers through the kind of the business relationships so as to build the products to the consumers. The manufacturer alone cannot take the products to the customers. He needs the support services of the channels and the distribution so that the product reach to the consumers at a lower cost. According to John, business must invest in products and people in order to create wealth. We have to invest in terms so as to build a system where the products reach to the customers at the minimum cost. And we have to invest because to generate wealth, we have to reach to the global level or to the kind of the international level. According to John Kenneth, a person buying ordinary products in a supermarket is in touch with his deepest emotions. So, product is a bundle where you communicate to the consumers. The basic emotion and the trust and value of the company is carried through the products where the kind of the need, the desire, the passion is satisfied so as to enhance the kind of the customer relationship in a sustainable way. According to Rob, Apple does great products, but at the end of the day, we think about consumers, that consumers want choices and consumer want openness. So, consumers are important and we have to satisfy the consumers in anyhow by variety, by positioning, by promotion and by cost also. According to Robert, when you are buying real growth and want real performance, you buy excellent management and good products and you diversify across the industry sectors. So, it is not only the manufacturer who is important, but the kind of the support channels, the kind of the logistic systems and the infrastructure which carries the product to the masses is also important. Now, the kind of the physical distribution by which the products reach to the masses is important because it involves a lot of cost which the customers have to bear. Now, physical distribution is a kind of a term which is involved in terms so as to penetrate the market, whereas the product reach to the customers and speak to the customers. Physical distribution channel is the term used to describe the method and means by which a product or a group of products are physically transferred or distributed from the point of production to the point which they are made available to the final customer. Now, let us see this model where we have shown you the distribution channel of a company. First is the production, that is the basic function of the manufacturer is done over here where he mixes the kind of the resources, that is the man, material, machine and most of the resources in terms of the physical aspects and the raw materials are combined so as to give the final shape to the product. And this product reaches to the customers through the warehouses, then goes to the retail store, maybe it goes to the broker and then comes to the retail store, or it goes directly to the retail store, or the production goes to the manufacturer's warehouse, comes to the retail store, or the production goes to the wholesaler's warehouse and then comes to the retail store. It is the cash and carry directly to the retail store, or it is the purchase carry and the parcel carry to the kind of the retail store. So, we have the multi-channel aspects where anyhow the products reach to the customers. Now, the channel which is involves a lot of kind of a transaction problems and involves lot of problems in terms of the complexities and the cost. The generic channels of distribution we can study, like suppose we have farms of raw materials. Now, these farms of raw materials basically are genuinely raw materials which go to the manufacturers. They combine in a better shape, put into the kind of the packaging, labeling. Then these manufacturers give it to the wholesalers. Wholesalers give it to the retailers and the retailers give it to the consumers, the government and the industrial users. So, the kind of the distribution channel which is taken up makes the major differences in terms of the product cost. It is also the kind of the reach associated in terms how you handle the products, and the kind of the transaction in terms of the fastness and the pace is also decided by the channel we choose. The channel selection is important because we have to minimize the kind of the logistics, that is the inventory related, and the kind of the infrastructure which is used for transaction, the kind of the total cost. Clearly, costs are very important because they reflect the final price which the customers have to pay. The product has to offer the services in terms related to the post-purchase behavior of the consumer. So, if the channel is strong, basically the services can be given to the customers, because if a manufacturer is sitting thousands and millions of kilometers away, he cannot look after the customers. Basically, the support services in form of channel distribution have to take care of the customers. The channel of distribution is important. It is a system of interdependent organizations that direct the flow of the product, title, possession from the producers to the buyers. See here, we have shown you this model where you have the producers, we have the intermediary chain, maybe a kind of a layout or a warehouse, and then the final consumer. The channel of distribution has the kind of the function where it is important because this system crystallizes the function where the product gives you the kind of the availability to the customer in form of time, that is, he gets the product as and when he needs, the kind of the utility he wants, that is the kind of the combinations in which he wants to combine the product parts, the kind of the information which he wants related to the product demonstration and use, the place which he wants to be associated with the product use, and the kind of the possession he wants. We have shown you beautifully in this model that creating utilities for customers is important, and this is done by the distribution channel. The channel functions are immense, which support the manufacturers and which support the marketing system. See this model, the channel functions from produce to the intermediaries when come to the customers facilitate exchange. Now this is the accumulation and the breaking of the bulk into pieces to come to the customers. It is reducing transactions, material handling becomes important, creating assortments and affordable quantities assorted or the kind of the packages become important, transporting and inventory management and the kind of the cost involved with the inventory carrying and inventory stock is important. The distribution channels facilitate specialization. How is this exchange function done? Here the kind of the efficiency is shown over here. We have the channels where the manufacturers and the retailers are connected. Then we have the producers where if the intermediary is there and then the customer is there, the flow of the information and the product becomes more systematic. We have shown you this channel which makes the kind of the flow of the product easy. Then the channel function also promotes the product. This is the promotion is done because we genuinely try to do advertising which is done in a cooperative way. In store sales advertising and sales promotion also becomes important, that is the point of sale purchase or the point of basic purchase where the kind of the promotion genuinely influences the consumers is important. And the kind of the personal selling, convincing the customer, the kind of the sales you basically crystallize in stores also becomes important. So the stores also support the manufacturers in terms so as to promote the product in the market. The advertising agencies and the sales promotion do play an important part in promoting the product to the customers. Now you have the pull strategy where basically the kind of the pull comes from the market. Producers promote the target audience to stimulate demand and pull the product through the distribution channel to the customers. You have the producer, wholesaler, retailer and customer. Like what is the producer promotes the product to the customer, or then the customer tries to go and request to the retailer. Retailer tries to build the order to the wholesaler and then the order is built up to the manufacturer. So pull is when the customers demand the product. Institutional advertising is done at the very large scale, and then when the information about the product goes into the market, the customers would genuinely demand the product from the retailers, and if the retailers do not have the product, they are going to go to their wholesalers and the wholesalers would genuinely give orders to the producers. So this is the kind of the pull strategy. Now you have the push strategy also to promote the products. In this, the producers promote to marketing intermediaries to push the product through the distribution channel. Now here the basic incentives and the promotional programs are given to the promoters, that is to the wholesalers and to the dealers, so that the products are genuinely pushed to the consumers. They try to educate the consumers and they try to build the product as a favorable concept for the consumers. The producer promotes to the wholesaler, wholesaler promotes to the retailer and the retailer convinces the customer to buy the product. So this is the push strategy. Now the channel functions also support the product, like the kind of the support which the product requires in terms of the data feedback, that is the product information is given to the customer, and the feedback from the customer, that is the complaints and the kind of the pains of the customers is taken to the manufacturer. The customer service is also provided by the distribution channel, the product repairs and the kind of the product selection and the delivery, the kind of the packaging and the financial and the social risk which is genuinely a kind of risk associated with the product acceptance, is reduced by the distribution channel. The risk taking function is basically a kind of a function which most of the distribution channel carry, because they are huge kind of systems who not only support one manufacturer, but they carry the products of hundreds manufacturer. So it is the kind of the basic risk that the manufacturer, if he tries to build a system and tries to involve a cost, the cost for the manufacturer will go very high, but then he bears the less cost because the system is already built up. And then the kind of the legal services and kind of the support services are also given by the distribution channel. The distribution channel design is important. We have the zero level distribution where the manufacturer directly communicates to the consumer. We have shown you in this diagram. Then we have a channel where the intermediaries or the traditional system is built, where you have the manufacturer, the wholesaler, retailer and the consumer. So this is the traditional system by which the products reach to the consumers. But the kind of the channel which we design basically depends on the kind of the product contact and the cost associated with it. The IT revolution has changed the total concept of distribution, where the direct appeal to the customers has become easy through the internet. But still we have the kind of the agents and the kind of the wholesalers who support the product, and the performance of the sales is enhanced through the impact of these agents. It is the ease of doing business is enhanced. It is the kind of the requirements for packaging and delivery which is taken up by these kinds of channel. The order processing and the quality control becomes very easy. You have the channel criteria in terms of selection, where we collaborate with the system because we have to be in a kind of a competitive era where the technical support service system to build up for a single manufacturer becomes difficult. We use the system of other agencies and the media so as to take the product to the consumers. We have the one-time delivery and the reliability concept built up, which gives you the economic value of the product. The total cost is a kind of a system cost where most of the collaborators combine together and try to reduce the distribution and the manufacturing cost so as to give the best solution to the customers. The channel design basically depends on the kind of the product which is genuinely taken to the customers. Now let's see these various designs. First we have the intense distribution, which is genuinely for fast moving products into the market, that is like pizza or bread, butter. These are the FMCGs, that is the fast moving consumer products. Then you have selective distribution, where the luxury goods like TV or other electronic items through selective channels or retail stores is sold. Then you have the exclusive distribution, where the kind of the luxury cars and the kind of the automobiles are sold. And then we also have the kind of the designer, where the kind of the diamonds and the boutique items are sold. So it depends, basically the kind of the channel design depends on the cost of the product, the target audience and the kind of the market to which you are serving. The market coverage definitely has some kind of legal issues also. We have strategic alliances related to the product, where the organizations try to combine in such a way that they use the kind of the brand of the other distribution channel. Like see, we have a kind of a contract building system when Tata Tea is sold to the Indian Airlines customers. This is the kind of the institutional kind of a contract or advertising, wherever the kind of the sales in terms of the airlines of tea is generated by the kind of the brand which is of the Indian Airlines. So they have a kind of a institutional or a kind of a strategic alliance where the Tata tea is being sold to the in-flight passengers. So we have the dual distribution system also, where not only the distribution of the product is done, but the kind of the advertising and the brand building promotion is also taken up by the marketing agencies. Now we have the direct marketing channels, because the kind of the impact in terms of technology is immense, where personal selling becomes important, because if the product is very costly, see if the product is in crores of rupees, nobody is going to buy the product through advertising. He needs a kind of a personal counseling, where the kind of the total disturbance in terms of the basic confusion has to be met out. You have the telemarketing, you have the toll-free phone, you have the catalog orders, the fax orders, the mail orders and the e-commerce, changing the total landscape of the business systems. We have shown you over here how the producers and the buyers are combined in this system of direct contact, where the kind of the orders are processed in such a way that the kind of the customized services are given to the customers according to their needs and the desires. Direct marketing can eliminate the middleman function, but not the functions. See, functions would be same, taking the product, designing the product, promoting the product, educating the product would also be done by the direct channel. So, we can genuinely cut out the middleman, but we cannot cut out the functions. Here the disintermediation is done through the kind of the information system, that is we have the computers and the internet built up so as to educate the customers directly from the company's website and take the choice of the product we have shown you in this model. Now we are in the kind of the era where the channel integration and the value chain integration is changing the total cost and the kind of the promotion of the product. The channel integration is shown over here where the manufacturer combines or comes into partnership with the wholesaler, wholesaler comes into partnership with the retailer, and the retailer comes in partnership with the consumer. The kind of the incentives given at each channel are transferred so as to reduce the cost. The forward integration becomes important, the backward integration becomes important, and the franchisee also becomes important. So, this is the kind of the member acquires, or there is a takeover or a kind of a merger, basically a kind of alliance builds up the kind of the integration where the cost ethics do play an important role in reducing the total product cost. The producer, wholesaler, retailer built up the channel where the consumer becomes important, because all the three agencies do have to reach the consumer, consumer and consumer. So, you have to combine the kind of the systems in such a way that you try to reduce the complexities and reach the customers in a simple way. Now, the horizontal integration of the channels would be like when the contractual systems of purchasing is done, where the wholesaler tries to sponsor the kind of purchases and the retailer also sponsors. It is a combination of a retailer to retailer where you have the sister chains or one chain coming into one city building up the chain in the other cities, or we have the franchisee systems also. Now, we have the kind of the distribution channel which could be the vertical also and could be the backward also. This could be the combination where the partnerships takes place at the backward channels, the supply chain integrates. So, we have the kind of the issues related to the channel systems are designed in such a way that the relationship management genuinely manages the kind of the cost. Now, the channel captain would basically be the dominant sponsor. If the manufacturer is stronger, he would control the distribution channel, but sometimes the wholesalers become very strong and they are bigger than the manufacturers, or even the retailers could be bigger than the wholesalers or could be bigger than the manufacturers. Like you have retail chains like Walmart, you have retail chains like Pantaloon, whose turnover is more than the manufacturers. So, they become the channel captains, they become the deciders, they become the basic agencies who decide on the product cost. So, it depends on the kind of the money power and the integration power of the channel agency who is the strongest, and that will dictate the kind of the total conflict resolution and the kind of the cost associated with the transaction systems. The types of the channel power relate to the kind of the reward power, the kind of the legal power, the expertise, and the kind of the power where each system can genuinely try to dominate the performance of the other. So, if the retailer is strong, he can dictate the ethics to the manufacturer and he can take the product at the lower cost. So, the performance of the manufacturer would reduce. We have shown you over here in this model. The supply chain management is a kind of a complex issue where the sources of channel conflict arise basically not only from the manufacturer to the retailer, but they could be the disagreement of the responsibilities taken, the disagreement related to the delivery, the increased use of multiple channels, the kind of the diversification taking place into the channels, and the producers and the manufacturers have to depend on more than one channel so as to satisfy the kind of the customer, because we are in competition and maybe the channel agency is not promoting your product. So, we have the kind of the sole distribution right where the manufacturer tries to buy the kind of the distribution channel and tries to produce and promote his own product. Marketing the channels and managing the channels is a kind of a complex system where the supply chain management in long term impacts is essential, where the kinds of the integration of members has to be done so that the inefficiencies, the kind of the cost, the kind of the substitutes, the kind of the innovative development of the products is taken and done in such a way that they reach to the customers at optimal cost. It includes all the facilities and all the resources so that the products are done. The products are promoted and are distributed to the customers and in an effective and a cooperative way. Now let's study the distribution channel functions in this model. We have shown you the distribution channels over here. The basic key functions related to the channel we have shown you. First is the distribution is related to the information, promotion, contact, matching, negotiation, physical, financing, risk taking. Now see what is information. Here the gathering of the information and basically distributing the market research to the consumers becomes important. You have to build the environment related to the kind of the recent updates and trends related to the product promotion. The promotion involves to develop a system of spreading the persuasive communication and a positive communication for the product. The contact is basically finding the communication with the prospective and the potential customers into the market. Matching is like shaping and fitting the product to the passions and the desires of the customers, or you have to fit the product to the buyer's offer. Then negotiation is agreeing on price and terms of the offer of ownership or possession that can be transferred. Physical is the distribution, transportation and storing of goods. Then is financing is acquiring and using funds to cover the cost of the channel work. Risk taking is assuming financial risks such as the inability to sell the inventory at full margin. So this kind of the system which is built in such a way that the number of levels and the number of multiple kind of the aspects where you reach to the consumer involves various functions, and each function becomes important because each function carries a cost and each function tries to reduce the confusion of the customers. Now let's see what could be the number of channels. Higher is the number of channels, higher is the cost. We have the 0 level channel where the manufacturer reach to the customer directly, that is through the internet or the website. We directly contact the manufacturer. We have the kind of the fax and the email numbers where we give the orders, and from the manufacturer directly the product comes to the customers. We have the first level channel where the manufacturer basically contacts the retailer and the retailer gives the product to the consumer. Then we have the second level channel where you have the producer, wholesaler, retailer and the consumer. Then the third level channel where you have the producer, wholesaler, jobber, retailer and consumer. So this model basically shows you the kinds of the levels of channels involved, and each level involves a kind of a commission and a kind of a cost. The marketing of the basic intermediaries is important because each agent has a kind of a power and has a kind of a reach, and with his power and reach and advertising and brand system tries to give the kind of mileage to the product. The marketing intermediaries for the travel functions we can take for an example. You have the tour operators, you have tour wholesalers, you have travel agents, you have specialists related to brokers, you have hotel representatives, you have national, state and local tour agencies, then you have the consortia and the representative systems for booking, you have the global distribution systems, and then you have the internet. So this is the kind of the system by which you can reach to the customer or to the tourist. The marketing kind of the systems built with the travel agent is that it tries to convince the tourist, and the tour operator tries to convince the travel agent. So in between the kind of the cost is reduced, because whatever the tour wholesaler or the tour operator is getting, he is passing that benefit to the travel agent, and the travel agent is passing the benefit to the customer. See, if the customer directly goes to a booking for a hotel, he gets a basic 10% discount. But if he goes through a travel agent, maybe the travel agent has done the kind of the bulk purchasing and he can give a kind of a 12% basic commission to the customer. So the price to the customer if he goes to the travel agent will be lower, because the travel agent is getting the 15% commission from the hotel. So out of this 3% he can give and 12% benefit can be given to the customers. So this is how the system works, and when the channel integration is strong and when the channel agencies are very strong, the benefit goes to the customers. Benefits in terms of the cost and in terms of the building a kind of a faithful and a trustful system where you have no problems related to language, related to kind of cultural differences, where the related disturbance, the product failure, the kind of the complaints, you cannot contact the manufacturer, but definitely you have your dealer, you have your agent or a travel agent who can look up to your problems. The global distribution systems are important, and they basically built a kind of a connection where most of the problems related to language, to the cultural differences are sorted out, and these systems work in such a way that they try to reduce the conflict and cost associated with the kind of the systems where the integration becomes important. Now, when you do the conventional marketing system where the manufacturer goes to the wholesaler, retailer and the consumer, we have now the vertical systems of marketing, where the manufacturer, the wholesaler and the retailer all combine together and they build a total brand where the cost of the advertising is shared and then they reach to the consumer. So, this is a kind of a degree and a direct control over the corporate aspects and to the advertising aspect, where you built a kind of a channel organization. We have these kinds of types of vertical marketing systems. The kind of the degree of control is shown over here in this model. We have the corporate, that is the common ownership at different levels of the channel. We have the contractual, that is the contractual agreements among the channel members, and we have the administered, that is the leadership is assumed by one or few dominant members. So, this is the kind of the system where the channels work. We have the franchising also. Franchising is a kind of a system where the franchisor permits the franchisee to use his trademark, name and advertising. It is by this he gets the kind of the money and the royalty by which he reaches to the larger masses of the customers. Let's study the advantages and the disadvantages of this channel of distribution. Now, the advantages of franchising are, first, it is like you need a lot of capital for growth, but here the capital is shared by the other intermediaries who take your name. It is the faster growth, it is the easy reach to the customers, it is the additional management which is done by the supporters, and it is the additional income which you get. This is the franchisor's advantages, but what is the kind of the disadvantages? The disadvantage is the lower kind of the potential profits. The controlling and service quality becomes difficult, and controlling the firm's brand and image becomes difficult when you give your rights to the other people. The advantages of the franchisee include that he has got the kind of the lower risk, he has the established brand name and the successful business plan built up. He has the expertise, assistance available. So, these are the advantages of the franchisee. But the disadvantage is the kind of the royalty and the fees which he has to pay, the lack of freedom where the decisions cannot be taken in an easy way, and the control which is always there. So, these could be the disadvantages, but still this is a kind of channel of distribution which makes the product easy to reach to the customers, where the brand, the kind of the image, the kind of the quality and the service reaches to the customers in a connected way, where you have the systems which can hold the efficiency. The contact efficiency is built in a system of channel distribution. We have shown over here how the consumers are connected to the different manufacturing channels, and every channel efficiently manages to reach to the customers, whether directly or indirectly. It depends on the cost, it depends on the situation, it depends on the target market, but whether it is direct or indirect, the kind of the efficiency has to be built up into design a system which is genuinely in a ordered way, in a systematic way, where the kind of the contact and the kind of the processing of information is done in an easy way. We need advice, we need money, we need support services. So, distribution channels supply all these services to the customers. I hope the students must have understood the concept of distribution channel. What is the impact on the cost? What is their impact in terms so as to support the manufacturer? Thank you, students.